Without decay, this world would look quite desolate because the nutrient cycle gets stopped. That is an unappreciated fact that we want to help change. My name is George Zhang. I am the co-founder and COO of Leep Foods. We started out interested in the abundant biomass available in New York that is non-food grade and really isn't being utilized. By taking nutrient-dense wood, extracting out the portion of proteins and turning them into edible mushrooms, this leftover mushroom blocks we then turn into compost with local compost companies who would then sell it to local farmers. Thinking about how do we build a company, a food company, that is not making the same mistakes of the 18th, 19th, 20th century companies that are feeding us today. We wanted to create a mushroom category, super shrooms, right, that are worth jumping for, like leap, that will make you leap with joy, create that visceral reaction. And when you mix them in, let's say, other vegetables with stir fries, not only is that flavor being enhanced, but you get protein. You get a sufficient amount of protein. And vitamin B12, the only non-animal product that currently is commercially available today that has vitamin B12. Companies have realized there's an opportunity to target the carnivores. You're not going to convince carnivores that there's an ethical appeal. We think with our taste buds, and there's that tradition. But if you take the right plant proteins and increasingly fungal proteins, mushroom proteins, blend them together with flavors and aromas and texture compounds, you can simulate the experience of eating meat without actually having the animal product. We have environmental limits, right? We know it. A 5-year-old will tell you that. And if we continue to consume the way we do with inefficient produced meat, because it's delicious, because it's tradition, and we don't challenge the way meat is produced, we have a big problem. That's what drives us. It's the health component, it's the health of individuals and communities, because we want to get more nutrient-dense mushrooms into their diets, hopefully in ways that they may not even realize it. There's so many applications, and that's where we want to push the company.
My name is Lucas Luft. I'm the production manager / mycologist here at Leep Foods. I was actually working at another mushroom facility nearby, and I was approached by George Zhang, one of the founders, to come over here and join the Leep team. My main tasks here are basically overseeing the whole production process of all of our mushrooms, from the start of keeping the cultures, producing them, and spreading the mycelium through the whole process, right through to the harvesting and distribution of all of our product. Process from start to finish of growing mushrooms here is getting the substrate material, the hardwood sawdust, which we soak to hydrate. We mix it with the brands and different grains, bag that up, put it into the mushroom grow bags, heat sterilize the bags to kill off any other pathogens on the bag, so that it's basically a blank slate. Take them into the laboratory, which we then inoculate with mushroom mycelium from whatever species we want to grow. Those bags are sealed, brought out of the lab, and put into the dark room, which is the colonization space where the mycelium then runs through the whole bag to basically take over the bag so that it can take its nutrients. Once we take the bags out of the colonization space, they're cut open to expose them to the environmental conditions, at which point it basically triggers the mushroom to pin or start producing a mushroom. At that point, we harvest them, package them, and send them off to whoever they're going to, usually within a day or two. We work with some pretty interesting consultants and partners, everything from engineers to RIT professors who are in here kind of giving us their expertise. One of the big things we're looking at now is using a biodegradable bag, because one of the steps of the process is that the substrate right now is all bagged into polypropylene bags, and which are unfortunately is the one non-recyclable or sustainable really process in what we're doing. So along with this new mixing process that we're developing, we shouldn't have to use polypropylene or polyethylene bags anymore. And that will really make it so the full circle of what we're doing is not producing much waste at all.
Part of Chinese culture, and I would say East Asian and Asian culture in general, is food. We like to joke that China, or just East Asia right, in general, but China, 1.3 billion people, is a country full of foodies. It's 1.3 billion people of foodies. And that gives you some perspective of Chinese people are less picky because there was never abundance, so you ate what you could scavenge, you ate what you could find, and mushrooms used to be widely available in the many environments, the forests of China. Americans are realizing that food should be thought of as medicine, not just as nutrition or pleasure. If you look at the reason most Americans are anti-mushrooms, there is an underlying ick factor, what we call the mushroom mentality. Part of it is the texture, it's slimy, and that's because mushrooms grown today primarily are buttons and portobellos that most people know grow on composted manure. And so subpar medium equals subpar product, both from a nutritional standpoint and from a texture standpoint, because manure doesn't have lignin, right? So it stems from the chemistry of the substrate. The reason we are focusing on blue oyster is because this is a mushroom that, from a flavor standpoint, from a texture, when processed and cooked properly, is going to be the next big food ingredient.
What their experience is when we tell them about mushrooms is, oh, are they safe to eat? Even when we tell them we're growing 1 or 2 varieties specifically in our facility for consumption, they still have the feeling that, oh, is it safe to eat? Like, some mushrooms might be poisonous, even the ones that are grown for consumption. How Leep is hoping to change that is to grow consistent, high quality mushrooms. So if they see one of these funky mushrooms like the lion's mane that most people wouldn't expect would even be a mushroom, once they see them on the shelves week in and week out, maybe they'll eventually give them a shot, see that they taste all right, see that they don't die when eating it, and maybe we can change the culture in America a little bit.